When you begin to trust the universe, something within you shifts. Life stops feeling like a constant battle against forces outside your control, and instead, you start to see that everything is unfolding with meaning, even the moments that seem painful or confusing. Carl Jung often spoke of synchronicity, those mysterious coincidences that seem too perfect to be accidents. When you open yourself to the possibility that life is not random, but deeply interconnected, you begin to notice the signs guiding you toward your true path. Trusting the universe does not mean becoming passive or waiting for miracles to happen without effort. It means surrendering the illusion of control while still playing your part fully. The ego believes it must force outcomes, chase success, and cling to certainty. But the psyche, the deeper self Jung explored, understands that growth often comes through uncertainty, through stepping into the unknown. The universe responds to your openness with opportunities, connections, and lessons you could never have predicted. Think about the moments in your life when something unexpected happened. A meeting, a decision, a challenge that changed everything. At the time, it may have felt like chance, but later you realized it carried purpose. Trusting the universe allows you to live with less fear and more faith, to see setbacks as redirection, and to embrace uncertainty as part of the larger design. This trust transforms anxiety into curiosity and turns doubt into patience. Carl Jung believed the psyche is always seeking wholeness, and the universe mirrors this process. When you align with it, you no longer see yourself as separate or lost. You recognize that every experience, whether joyful or painful, is guiding you closer to the person you are meant to become. Trust is not about knowing every answer. It is about knowing that you are being carried, even in the dark. And when you truly accept this, everything in your life begins to change. Trusting the universe shifts your perspective from struggle to flow. Most people go through life believing they must constantly fight against circumstances, control every outcome, and push through resistance to achieve their goals. While effort and discipline are important, this approach often leads to stress, burnout, and frustration because reality does not always bend to our will. Trusting the universe means shifting from this exhausting struggle into a state of flow, where you cooperate with life rather than constantly wrestling against it. This perspective changes how you see challenges, opportunities, and even yourself. When you trust the universe, you begin to accept that not everything needs to happen exactly the way you planned. Instead of viewing delays or failures as signs that you are unlucky or not good enough, you start to recognize them as part of a larger unfolding. This doesn't mean giving up your ambitions. It means allowing life to guide you toward the right time, the right people, and the right circumstances. Think about a river. You can exhaust yourself trying to swim upstream, or you can learn to float and move with the current. Trusting the universe places you in alignment with that current, where progress feels more natural and less forced. Carl Jung's idea of synchronicity connects deeply to this perspective. He suggested that meaningful coincidences are not random accidents, but signs that life is weaving together events in ways that serve your personal growth. When you are stuck in a mindset of struggle, you might miss these signs completely, dismissing them as chance or irrelevant. But when you trust the universe, you remain open to these subtle hints, and they guide you in directions you might never have imagined. This openness to flow often brings unexpected opportunities. Whether it is meeting someone who inspires you, stumbling upon an idea at just the right moment, or finding clarity during a difficult experience. Living in flow also changes your emotional state. Constant struggle creates anxiety, because you are always worried about what might go wrong. But trust softens that fear. You no longer feel the need to predict or control everything. Instead, you develop patience and curiosity about how life will unfold. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means your actions are guided by clarity rather than panic. You act, but you are also willing to adjust when life shows you a different path. This adaptability reduces resistance and helps you grow stronger in the face of uncertainty. On a deeper level, trusting the universe transforms your relationship with yourself. Struggle often comes from believing you are separate, isolated, and responsible for carrying the weight of everything on your own. Flow comes from recognizing you are part of something greater and that the same intelligence that governs the stars, seasons, and cycles of nature is also guiding your journey. In that realization, life becomes less about fighting and more about discovering. You begin to live not as a victim of chance, but as a participant in a meaningful unfolding where each experience, pleasant or difficult, has a role in shaping who you are meant to become. Synchronicity reveals life's meaningful connections, not random events. Carl Jung introduced the concept of synchronicity to describe those uncanny moments when events line up in ways that seem too significant to be coincidences. These moments often feel like life itself is communicating with us, providing subtle signals that point us toward deeper understanding or necessary change. When you experience synchronicity, you realize that reality is not simply a collection of random occurrences, but rather an interconnected web where your inner world and outer world reflect one another. Imagine thinking about an old friend you haven't seen in years, and then suddenly they call you that very day. Or perhaps you've been wrestling with a difficult decision, and the exact words you needed to hear show up in a book, a song, or a passing conversation. From a logical perspective, these might be dismissed as mere chance. But when you approach life through the lens of Jungian psychology, you begin to see that synchronicity serves as a bridge between the unconscious and conscious mind, between your personal journey and the larger flow of the universe. These meaningful coincidences often appear at turning points in life, gently guiding you toward choices that align with your true self. Synchronicity also challenges the rigid belief that everything must have a straightforward, rational cause. It suggests that meaning itself can connect events. In other words, things may happen not because of direct physical causes, but because they share symbolic significance for you at that specific moment. This is why two people can experience the same event, but interpret it in entirely different ways. To one, it might seem ordinary. To another, it carries deep personal meaning. Trusting synchronicity means paying attention to how events resonate with your inner world, rather than dismissing them as irrelevant. When you learn to recognize synchronicity, your awareness expands. You start to notice patterns, connections, and symbolic messages in everyday life. It feels as though life is in dialogue with you, responding to your thoughts, emotions, and intentions. This awareness deepens your trust in the universe because you realize you are not navigating existence alone. The universe reflects your inner state back to you, sometimes confirming your direction and other times nudging you to reconsider your path. This can be a profound source of reassurance during times of uncertainty, showing you that even when things feel unclear, there is meaning unfolding beneath the surface. Moreover, synchronicity invites humility. It reminds you that not everything can be measured or controlled by logic alone. Some truths are felt rather than explained, and some guidance comes not from rigid planning, but from openness to the unexpected. By honoring these meaningful coincidences, You shift from seeing life as a series of random, isolated events to recognizing it as an interconnected whole, where your journey is woven into a larger tapestry. This realization can transform the way you live, making you more receptive, intuitive, and aligned with your authentic purpose. In Synchronicity, you see the evidence that the universe is always speaking. You only need to learn how to listen. Surrendering control allows deeper self-growth and transformation. Most of us are conditioned to believe that we must control every aspect of our lives to feel safe and successful. We plan obsessively, set rigid expectations, and become anxious when things don't go according to our timeline. Yet the more we try to control, the more we find ourselves in tension with reality. Life is full of unpredictability, and the illusion of total control creates constant stress. When you surrender that need, something shifts. You open yourself to growth, flexibility, and transformation that rigid control could never allow. Surrender does not mean passivity or giving up responsibility. It means letting go of the false belief that you must force every outcome. Instead of clinging tightly to how you think things should unfold, you trust that the universe has a rhythm and intelligence greater than your own immediate desires. This trust creates space for possibilities you may never have imagined. Often, the best opportunities or relationships arise not from strict planning, but from openness to the unexpected. Surrender is not about abandoning action. It is about acting with intention while allowing life to unfold naturally. This openness fosters deeper self-growth because it teaches you to face uncertainty without fear. Control is rooted in fear, the fear of failure, rejection, or chaos. When you surrender, you confront those fears directly and discover that they are not as powerful as you once believed. You learn to trust yourself in situations where you cannot predict the outcome, and that trust strengthens resilience. Each time you let go of control and still find your way forward, you expand your capacity for courage and adaptability. Growth occurs in those moments when you step outside the rigid safety of control and embrace the unknown. Transformation comes when you realize that surrendering control allows your true self to emerge. The ego thrives on control, constantly pushing for outcomes that serve its pride and insecurity. But the deeper self, the part Jung referred to as the self with a capital S, seeks wholeness and meaning. When you let go of control, you stop trying to shape life through ego-driven desires and instead align with the larger process of individuation, the journey of becoming your authentic self. This is why many people look back on life's hardest detours and realize those were the moments that shaped them most profoundly. What felt like loss of control at the time turned out to be the gateway to transformation. Surrender also deepens your connection with others. When you stop trying to control people or outcomes, you create space for more genuine relationships. You learn to listen, to adapt, and to appreciate others as they are rather than as you want them to be. This openness nurtures compassion and reduces conflict. Ultimately, surrendering control allows you to live more freely. Instead of exhausting yourself with constant resistance, you flow with life's current, and in that flow, you discover the deeper wisdom, strength, and transformation that control could never provide. The ego forces outcomes, but the psyche embraces uncertainty. The ego is the part of us that craves control, recognition, and certainty. It is always striving for predictable results, wanting to know exactly what will happen and when. The ego sees uncertainty as a threat because it thrives on the illusion of security. This is why people often cling to routines, rigid plans, or familiar patterns, even when those patterns no longer serve them. The ego believes that if it can just control enough variables, Life will unfold exactly as desired. But reality does not work this way. Life is inherently uncertain, and the more the ego resists this truth, the more conflict, stress, and disappointment it creates. The psyche, on the other hand, operates on a deeper level. It understands that uncertainty is not a threat, but a gateway to growth, transformation, and meaning. Carl Jung emphasized that the psyche is always striving toward wholeness, often through experiences that the ego resists. Uncertainty plays a crucial role in this process because it pushes us into the unknown, where growth becomes possible. If everything were predictable, life would be stagnant. There would be no challenge, no discovery, and no evolution of the self. The psyche knows that embracing uncertainty allows us to encounter parts of ourselves we never knew existed, and to connect with possibilities we could not have imagined. When you live from the ego, you often find yourself forcing outcomes, chasing goals relentlessly, manipulating situations, or trying to control people in order to get what you want. Even if success comes, it often feels empty because it was achieved through resistance rather than alignment. Living from the psyche is different. It means being open to the mystery of life, trusting that even when the path is unclear, something meaningful is unfolding. This openness creates a sense of flow where opportunities arise naturally and experiences carry deeper significance. Embracing uncertainty also teaches humility. The ego believes it knows best, but the psyche acknowledges that there are larger forces at work: life, fate, or what Jung called the collective unconscious. When you allow uncertainty, you step out of the narrow vision of the ego and into a broader perspective. You begin to see setbacks not as failures, but as redirection. You recognize that not getting what you want immediately may be an essential part of preparing you for something greater. The psyche uses uncertainty as a tool to break down illusions and open the door to authentic transformation. This balance between ego and psyche is essential. The ego has a role. It gives structure and helps you function in daily life. But when it dominates, it blinds you to the richness of uncertainty. The psyche reminds you that uncertainty is where life's magic resides. It is in the unplanned meeting, the unexpected challenge, the unexplored path, that your true self emerges. By embracing uncertainty, you honor the psyche's wisdom and step into a deeper, more authentic relationship with life. Challenges and setbacks often serve as redirection toward purpose. In life, we are taught to view obstacles as failures, as signs that something has gone wrong. The ego interprets challenges as proof that we are off track or that we lack ability. But from a deeper psychological perspective, and particularly within Carl Jung's understanding of the human journey, difficulties are not random punishments. They are signals guiding us away from paths that do not align with our authentic self and pushing us toward directions we may not yet recognize. What feels like a setback in the moment often reveals itself later as a turning point, a redirection toward growth and purpose. When something we desire does not work out, a relationship ends, a job opportunity falls through, or a plan collapses, we feel frustration and disappointment. But it is precisely in these moments of loss that life creates space for something new. If everything we pursued succeeded, we might remain stuck in situations that limit us, never venturing beyond what feels comfortable. Challenges force us to pause, to reassess, and to consider alternatives we might not have otherwise explored. In this way, setbacks act like course corrections, nudging us closer to paths that resonate more deeply with who we are becoming. Jung spoke often of individuation, the process of becoming whole and realizing one's true self. Challenges are essential to this process because they strip away illusions. When you face disappointment, you are confronted with your assumptions, attachments, and hidden fears. These moments demand introspection and resilience, qualities that cannot develop when life flows smoothly. A setback forces you to ask difficult questions. Why did this happen? What can I learn? Where do I need to grow? These questions lead to greater self-awareness, which is the foundation of transformation. Without challenges, the psyche remains asleep, comfortable but stagnant. With them, the deeper layers of the self awaken. Setbacks also build resilience and humility. When everything goes according to plan, it is easy to mistake control for strength. But true strength comes from enduring what you cannot control and finding meaning in it. Each time you recover from a challenge, you discover a deeper reservoir of courage within yourself. This resilience not only helps you navigate future struggles, but also prepares you to handle greater responsibilities and opportunities with wisdom. Humility, too, is born from setbacks, reminding you that you do not have all the answers, and that growth often requires surrendering to the unknown. Looking back, many people find that their greatest difficulties were the catalysts for their most important growth. The job loss that once felt devastating may have opened the door to a career that better aligned with their passions. The heartbreak that seemed unbearable may have taught them self-worth and led them to healthier relationships. The failure that felt humiliating may have revealed hidden strengths. Challenges and setbacks redirect us, shaping us into people capable of fulfilling deeper purposes. What appears as a dead end is often just a doorway disguised, guiding us toward the life we are truly meant to live. Trust reduces fear and anxiety, replacing them with curiosity and patience. Much of human suffering comes from the constant need to control outcomes and the fear of what might happen if things go wrong. Anxiety arises when the mind races into the future, imagining countless scenarios and dangers, most of which never come true. Fear grips us because we doubt our ability to handle uncertainty. When we begin to trust the universe, this cycle weakens. Instead of viewing the unknown as something to dread, we start to see it as a space of possibility. This shift in perspective transforms not only how we feel, but also how we live. Trusting the universe doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending that difficulties don't exist. It means recognizing that life has an intelligence beyond what the conscious mind can grasp, and that even the hardest experiences can hold meaning. When we hold this belief, fear loses its power. For example, when a plan falls apart, the anxious mind may scream, "This is disaster." But the trusting heart whispers, "Perhaps something better is unfolding." By leaning into that perspective, we reduce the grip of panic and create room for patience. Life may not move according to our timeline, but trust teaches us to wait with openness instead of restlessness. This transformation from fear to curiosity is profound. Fear closes doors, it paralyzes us, makes us avoid risks, and narrows our vision. Curiosity opens them. When we trust, the unknown becomes less threatening and more intriguing. Instead of asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" we begin to ask, "What if this leads somewhere amazing?" Curiosity pushes us to explore, to try new things, and to learn from every situation. It turns uncertainty into a teacher rather than an enemy. This is the mindset that allows growth to flourish, because curiosity thrives where fear once lived. Patience naturally follows this trust. Anxiety demands instant results. It insists on knowing now, seeing progress now, fixing everything now. But life does not always work on our schedule. Trusting the universe cultivates patience by helping us accept that timing has its own wisdom. Just as seeds take time to grow into trees, our dreams and transformations require their own seasons. When we trust, we stop rushing and forcing, and instead learn to move in rhythm with life's unfolding. This patience not only reduces stress, but also allows us to notice the beauty in the present moment, something fear and anxiety often rob us of. Carl Jung's idea of synchronicity connects here as well. When you trust and let go of fear, you become more aware of the meaningful coincidences guiding your journey. These signs reassure you that you are not lost, even if the path feels uncertain. Each small synchronicity becomes evidence that life is unfolding with purpose, which further reduces fear and deepens patience. Over time, this creates a cycle. Trust lessens anxiety, curiosity replaces dread, patience grounds you, and all three together allow you to walk through life with confidence and openness. Trust doesn't eliminate challenges, but it changes your relationship with them, giving you the strength to live more freely. Aligning with the universe brings wholeness and guides you to your true self. Every human being is on a journey of self-discovery, though many remain unaware of it. Carl Jung described this journey as individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of the psyche. Often, we live disconnected from this deeper reality, identifying only with the roles we play, the expectations placed upon us, or the masks we wear to fit into society. This disconnection leads to feelings of emptiness, confusion, or a sense that something vital is missing. When we align with the universe, however, we reconnect with the natural order of life, and in that alignment, we discover our truest self. Alignment begins with trust. Instead of forcing life into rigid structures, we allow ourselves to flow with its rhythm. The universe has its own timing and intelligence, and when we resist it, we experience frustration and dissonance. But when we listen, observe, and follow its cues, we feel supported and guided. This alignment shows up through synchronicities, intuitive nudges, and opportunities that appear at just the right moment. By paying attention to these signs, we begin to see that we are not separate from the world around us, but part of a greater whole. This recognition is the first step toward wholeness. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means integration. It is about embracing every part of ourselves, the light and the shadow, the strengths and the wounds. Jung emphasized that ignoring or repressing parts of the psyche only creates inner conflict, while bringing them into awareness allows healing and growth. Aligning with the universe supports this process because life itself presents us with experiences designed to reveal what is hidden. Challenges expose our weaknesses, relationships mirror our unresolved emotions, and successes highlight our strengths. Each moment becomes a teacher, guiding us toward greater self-knowledge and authenticity. When we are aligned, life feels less like a random series of events and more like a purposeful journey. Even difficulties carry meaning as they push us to grow beyond our comfort zones. This perspective fosters resilience and hope because we understand that everything we encounter is part of the larger process of becoming whole. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" we begin to ask, "What is this teaching me about myself?" That shift in mindset is transformative. It turns suffering into wisdom and confusion into clarity. Ultimately, aligning with the universe connects us with our true self, the part of us that is not defined by fear, ego, or external approval. This deeper self is already whole, already connected to the flow of life. The more we align with the universe, the more we live from this authentic center. Decisions become clearer, relationships more genuine, and our sense of purpose stronger. We no longer chase fulfillment outside of ourselves because we realize that wholeness is found within. By walking in harmony with the universe, we uncover the truth that our lives are not accidents, but meaningful expressions of something far greater, and in this realization, we finally meet the self we were always meant to become.